weeks ago here at the American Civic Association, which it was like a pilot program. This was the first time that we had done this type of clinic here. Is what we call the hub. Yeah. Can you guys hear it?
What was your experience getting the vaccine?
So far I've only gotten my first dose of the vaccine. Today I'll get my second dose. But after getting my first dose, it actually didn't even hurt. It was great, and I felt fine after. My arm was a little bit sore the next day, but that's totally normal, and I felt fine after that. Today I'm expecting to feel a little bit sick after, but again, that's just your body building up immunity, so it's all good.
Why did you decide to get vaccinated?
I really just want to, be able to be around my family and know I have that sense of security and safety. And I would highly recommend that if people are comfortable with it, that they get vaccinated so that they can have that sense of security as well.
My name is Korezi Mugambwa. I'm inflation case manager.
Why did you decide to get vaccinated?
Thousands and thousands of people died. Watch what was happening in like New York State at the beginning of the time. People are dying. It's not like those bodies they were carrying out, they are not like for job. There are people dying. And then you sit there and say, I'm not going to get a vaccine. I haven't had anyone, maybe they are, but I haven't had anyone who had a vaccine and they have died.
What are the barriers preventing immigrant communities from getting the vaccine?
If they could open one, I think if they had more places where people can come for vaccine, secondly, most of the immigrants, some of the immigrants, if they don't have computers, how are they going to by the phone, calling and nobody's answering the phone or something. So that's the problem. People have phones. I don't know where to go to get a vaccine.
What concerns about the vaccine have been raised by clients?
One of the big things that we've heard is people are concerned that the vaccine could give them COVID-19. And the reality is that there's no live vaccine, no live virus in the vaccine. So you can't get COVID from the vaccine. That's just a myth. So that's something we've been, hearing a lot of people are concerned about, which is completely understandable, but it's not true and it's safe to get the vaccine.
Okay, so next one. So let's go back into our Health Equity Task Force and what we are doing right now across New York State. One of the things that is very important for all of us is that there's a lot of members in the Health Equity Task Force, a lot of professionals from our community, a lot of different organizations working together in an effort to make sure that no one is left behind and that everyone get the vaccine that they need. So our main focus here at the ACA is focusing more on providing outreach and educational resource. We have hosted multiple workshops and Q&A, question and answers with trusted local doctors and medical professionals. We created an email, which is on our website in a page with all the information for COVID-19 vaccine and information that people may need. And we have done that in different languages. Any question that people have, they can send us the questions, and again, we try to answer those questions through the guidelines of some of the physicians. We post information on our website in multiple languages, and we maintain our own waiting list and share share the information with organizations that are the organization or even Department of Health that they are planning to have their own a clinic or the pop-up locations. So that's some of the things that we have done so far with the Health Equity Task Force and COVID-19 vaccine. The workshop that we had done so far, we had the woman health and COVID-19, healthcare and COVID-19, healthcare update. We've done follow-up addressing COVID-19 equity equity concerns, immigration and COVID-19. In our workshops live, we have it on our website right now, so anybody can go into our website and take a look at those workshops. Our pop-up clinic that took place a couple of weeks ago, the vaccine, it was done here at the American Civic Association. There's a lot of components that take place when it comes to those clinics. Again, you know, when we decided to do this, I was given 48 hours to reach out to all those clients, to get the facility in place, to have a team of people that speak multiple languages to come in. Then thanks to UHS, that is one of our partners on the pop-ups. They was able to come in, assess the facility to make sure that the facility was equipped to conduct the clinic on that day. And after the approval, so then we started, making all those phone calls and reaching out to the clientele. And I must tell you that it was a very challengeable, but everything is possible, when it comes to do the right things for the people in our community. We did have I can barely see that. So the people that came in for the first time, there was always, we have 100%, how we said, people showed up, the 259 people that came before was able to come in and get the vaccine. And then we followed through a couple days later with the second shot to let them know, hey, you have to get your second shot. What are some of the things that you need? Would you be able to get your transportation? Did you need anything from us? Do you have any questions or concerns? Please let us know. And if you need transportation, let us know so that we can arrange that for you. And all the things that they needed. And if you have any question on immigration, are you afraid of it? We want to make sure that the people was not afraid of. And we even put together, I believe Kelsey was the person that was there, but we was able to put together a workshop for that day also, in the event that people that have questions and concern about immigration, we had an attorney just presenting information about the COVID-19, immigration and COVID-19. With the rise of the pandemic, it became increasingly important for us to treat our clients' needs with a holistic approach. Immigration questions are usually only one part of the client's need. We try to do our best with the clientele so that when they come to our facility, people feel safe, feel that they would get the right information, that they would get the right referral, and we do everything that is in our power to assist them. During the pandemic time, it was very difficult for us here. We had to, although the doors was closed, we was able to reach out some of our clients on the phone through Zoom link, and breaking the ice is the most difficult things, because most immigrants, again, when it's your first time dealing with anything new in a foreign country, they think they're very afraid as to whether or not whatever they say or how they're going to approach to the individual, is going to be kind of awkward for them, and they don't open up that fast. So we try to make sure that we take our time speaking to our client and addressing whatever concern they have, either about the COVID-19 vaccine or informations or if it is immigration. And with that, we are so fortunate to have Johnny Saints, our partners, partnering with us, working through some of those immigration cases. And any question we have about immigration and COVID-19. I'll give you a little example. Not too long ago, we have a client for his own protection. We use a fake name there. We named him Mr. Lopez, who came in here to get his citizenship, to fill out his application for citizenship. Mr. Lopez doesn't speak English. Mr. Lopez go back and forward, and he transport himself by bus, public transportation. He has a phone that he only pick up that phone, whenever it's ring, and it was, there was time that we were having a hard time and even getting a hold of him. He doesn't answer unfamiliar phone numbers. And he came in here to work on his citizenship application form. So one of the things that we have put in place right here at the American Civic Association is that when we meet with the clients, we like to ask the question, have you gotten your vaccine? And if they say no, we ask to, any particular reason. If there are some conservation there to why not, we provide them with information. If not, they will tell us, well, you know what, I did not make my appointment because I don't know how to get into the system. I don't speak English. I don't know what to do or how to do it. So one of the common barriers right now is the language issues. So what we did with this client is, besides helping him with his application, we took some time and asked him, if he would like to get the vaccine. Then he said yes, and we asked, would you mind did you would like to get some help, and we can book it for you if you would like to. So he said yes. So we was able to help him with the language barriers, with the lack of the internet, and how to making that appointment for him. And he was very anxious too, so his anxiety level, was very, 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 very cooperative. So and so we took care of both things. And by the same token, he got the letter to go to Syracuse and become a citizen. He became a citizen, but in the meantime, he needed when he came back, we remind him of his second appointment. He said, well, but I don't know how I'm going to get there. So we was able to provide, to call the transportation services, get there, which they was very helpful in accommodating him, picking him up and bringing him back home for his second vaccine. So those are some of the things that we sometimes face with the immigrants in our community. And it is important to have a very holistic approach to their needs. So as a result, we were able to help Mr. Lopez apply for his and receive his U.S. citizenship certificate. He have his vaccine. So in this way, our holistic approach to the client enable us to help clients beyond just the immigration needs. Not only we were able to register Mr. Lopez for his holistic, for his COVID-19 vaccine appointment, but we also assisted him finding transportation and translators to ensure that he will be able to make it to both of his appointment and his second vaccines. As a reminder, immigration status does not play a role in eligibility for receiving the vaccine. We have to make sure that clients that we deal with on a daily basis are aware that there is no cost to the vaccine. It is free. It's available. Colors, rituals, reach somebody. Again, there are people looking for a particular vaccine. You know what? Get the vaccine that is available at the time that is being provided. And this is something that I said all the time. It is very, very important for people, to get that vaccine. Like already mentioned on that video, and like Kate mentioned in the video, she took the vaccine because of for her own safety and the safeties of the people that surround her parents. And like already said, last year around this time, every single day on the news, we will see our governor, we see Jason, we see our county executive, we see people just counting the number of people that was dying of the COVID-19. Today, what are we doing? Today we are counting as to how many people need to get the vaccine in order for us to have a safe and healthy community and to avoid losing any more loved ones. COVID-19 last year took away, and even now, our social life, our friends, our gathering, our job, our health had taken a lot. So it's us against COVID-19, and I think that together we can do it. So with that, I'm going to open it up for questions. If anybody have any questions, please let me know right now, and I'll be able to answer.
And just to let everybody know, you can type your questions on the section of Q&A, or if you write them in the chat room, I will relay them to the presenters.
Should I answer? Did you want to? Yes. I guess there is no questions. Okay, so with that, I'm going to pass this to Emmy Mons.
Hello. Okay, so am I able to share my screen?
Yes, you are.
Okay, thank you so much. So my name is M. Edmonds, and I'm really honored to have been asked to be here. And I have met Ms. Garcia and Lamise and a number of other people in the American Civic Center, and I really love the job that they're doing. And so I just listened to that great presentation and saw the video, and I have to say that's a great 100% return rate on the vaccinations is something to really be proud of, and I haven't seen that anywhere else. But let me show you a little bit about what I've been doing and put together for this presentation. Some of it will repeat what Ms. Garcia just said. So let me share my screen and focus on this. And so does that show? Do you see a presentation there?
Yes.
Okay, good. Now I'm going to try to minimize myself. So hopefully you can see the whole thing. So this is just a sweet little local flower. And this is a little bit of a rehash and then some new information, I hope. Let me see if I can get this to, okay, there we go. And that's me, and I am the outreach coordinator at this point. I have a background in being a healthcare provider. I'm a nurse and a nurse practitioner, and I also have a background in doing some global health research. I focused in New York State and also Delhi, India. But in this role, the function that I do is to collaborate with community agencies to decrease health disparities regarding COVID-19. And that is something that New York State has made a priority, partly because, in fact, we have seen that there is a disproportionate share of the burden of disease and fatalities among more vulnerable populations, and that includes racial disparities and ethnic disparities, and that can also affect people with immigrant status. So I'm collaborating with community agencies throughout the Southern Tier, and I distribute educational posters and literature from the Department of Health. But I also am able to bring some personal protective equipment, mainly masks and hand sanitizers, to community organizations for their staff and clients. I wish it could be more, and it will be more over the months, but for now it's just a small amount at a time. And then what I also do is find out about what agencies are providing and bring it back to the contact tracing and community support teams so they can refer people to your services, because we want to make sure that they are getting what they need in order to get through this time healthy and whole. So just a little bit on contact tracing. Some of these slides are directly out of an education seminar from New York State. So contact tracing is a very old but updated method of finding out where people might have been exposed to an infection and how they might have also, by mistaken activities, exposed others, but it is private. And the entire point of it is to help decrease the spread of the infection. So this will come up later. It's very important. It's when we do contact tracing, we never involve agencies that are any immigration agencies or anything else. Some of the questions seem invasive, but it's so that we can slow and stop the spread of infection. I'm just showing you this slide because actually I'm a little bit proud of, this is just the very beginning of the trainings that they gave us as mandatory about different groups of folks. And, you know, there's at least 25 groups that they've focused on so that we could understand the difficulties that some people might experience in this COVID pandemic and how to approach different groups of people with humility and openness to improve their health outcomes and the health outcomes of all New Yorkers. So some of this might be really familiar to all of you, but I just wanted to show you that this is what New York State was doing to promote the learning of the people who are doing this contact tracing. And one of the things that they also say is that this is an ongoing thing. It's not like you attain cultural humility and then you just always know what you're doing when you're communicating with folks from another background, but that you develop partnerships. And then that leads into knowledge about health disparities, which Ms. Garcia was talking about, and she's on that task force. And basically, we are looking to decrease these systematic, these experiences that people are experiencing systematically so that so that the health outcomes for each group have the best opportunities possible. And that would lead to health equity, the highest level of health for all people. And so that means targeting these systematic problems. And again, this is from a training session that we all went through. And part of it's because people are experiencing a lot of vulnerability, we have to be especially brushed up on this. One of the reasons why people are have some disparities in the COVID experience is because they may have fear and distrust. They may have difficulty accessing different types of medical care or testing. They may distrust institutions and systems, and this may be very justified. With contact tracing, they might have a fear of isolation or quarantine. There can be differences, as Ms. Garcia mentioned, with language. And so we also are trained to use language line and support. None of these things completely overcome these barriers, but they do help. With testing, for instance, barriers due to location and physical setup or transportation, fear of being separated from home and family, lack of information about where and when to get tested. So again, I'm going to zip through this stuff because it seems like this audience already knows a lot of this stuff. Some of the factors that are really important that a lot of the people doing this work may not be familiar with are, for instance, multi-generational households, or not having health insurance, or the stigma and the system inequalities that people may have faced. And then, believe it or not, this is a slide from a New York State training. I just love to see that they were actually addressing these issues and the social determinants of health, looking at institutional racism, class oppression, gender discrimination and exploitation, and then realizing how these things contribute to power and how wealth imbalances, and these things lead into social determinants of health. I was very pleased to see this, and I liked how succinct it was put. So this brings us New York State, the very, very beginning of what it is putting forth about what immigrant communities might experience, that these people are already experiencing racial bias and discrimination, which we're getting a lot of training on. People may already have had negative experiences with government, either here or in their country of origin, or they may be afraid of being penalized for using government services. Also, undocumented individuals may be particularly reluctant to speak or disclose. And it says at the bottom, and Ms. Garcia already said this, but this can't be repeated often enough. Documentation status is not, it shouldn't be asked and it shouldn't be noted. Why are we caring about this kind of thing is partly because, in fact, and this is from May 2020, there is a disproportionate amount of illness and fatality based on different backgrounds. Now, this is not about immigrants, but it's about Hispanic, Black, White, Asian, and other. So it's about race. But in fact, these are the disparities we are working to overcome. So I want to give credit. My presentation continues from here, but I do want to give credit to New York State Department of Health for those slides, which I pulled out of a couple of their trainings. And it was about the cultural humility training session, and they didn't put a name on it. So I kind of thought it was a little funny. It could be seen as a sign of humility. So I just wanted to give them credit, no matter who they are or where they are. This is where my slides commence in terms of my own thoughts on this. Aspects of contact tracing and COVID-19 public health, which may be of special concern to immigrant people. First of all, as an immigrant person, you are entitled to public health care, quarantine support, vaccinations, and privacy. However, unfortunately, sometimes the distribution of healthcare and other resources are not as available for immigrants, and this can be a huge and understandable source of mistrust. Citizenship status, documentation status, nation of origin, religion, and ethnicity do not make anyone ineligible. They do not matter in regard to public health, pandemic control, and vaccines. So questions in privacy, this is a really interesting and somewhat repetitive because you've heard this, but it's so important. Contact tracers will call people and they sometimes ask questions that seem very invasive. They ask where someone was, when they went there, and who they were near and for how long. So this can feel very nosy or invasive, but it's only to try to track and stop the infection. Contact tracers are never supposed to, they never In fact, they are not allowed to. It's against our rules to report or relay any information to immigration officers or agencies or police unless someone is in immediate danger and asks for help. Contact tracers also never ask about citizenship, documentation, or income. Now, part 2 of the privacy thing here is when contact tracers ask about occupation, school, residence, or activities, it is only so they can find out who else may have been exposed to infection and with the purpose to slow or stop the spread. If a person is infected and contact tracers call the people that were near the infected person, they are not allowed to say who the infected person is. That protects people's privacy, and we are not allowed to say it, even if the contacted person already knows. Another thing is, if a person who is asked to be in quarantine or isolation has financial, food, medical, or shelter needs in order to quarantine safely, a community support specialist may call them back to help them line up resources. And this is where a big part of my work comes in, as I'm kind of going out there, finding out what are the resources that are already working with people, or what are the new resources that are being set up. And I bring them back to my team so that we can hook people up with information so that they have access to resources. And it's been really, really exciting and heartening. There's a lot of times that we've been able to hook people up to resources that they were already entitled to regardless of quarantine or pandemic. Last thing here, contact tracers may relay information to local health departments, but the local health departments will also never communicate with immigration enforcement officers or agencies. Now, I just wanted to show you, this is a quick little visual tour. This, you probably already recognize this. I just took some photographs of different places I've reached out to. So this is one that you're familiar with. And then this is the inside, because this is an agency working to decrease disparities. So I came and met these great people. A lot of good work gets done here. This is in Chemung. It's a pantry that's just being set up. This is in Broome. It's a church pantry. And as you can see down here, these are just some of the hand sanitizers and masks that I can bring. Here's a soup kitchen in Tompkins. Here's a place, an agency working with people who are experiencing domestic violence. And again, some supplies here. Here's a shelter in Tompkins. And here is a pantry in Tioga. And a pantry in Steuben. And then it was funny. This is my car, the front passenger seat of my car. And in this pantry in Steuben, they insisted I take a dozen eggs. So I got a little gift. And this is a pantry in Tompkins. This pantry focuses on, includes a very strong focus on the Spanish-speaking community. And this is the end of my presentation, and I just wanted to open things up for any sort of questions, or we can wait till the end.
Thank you so much, Em. So if anybody has any questions, remember you can put them in the chat or you can put them in the Q&A section. Okay, thank you so much.
All right. Thank you guys so much. Am I okay to start?
Yes, you are.
Okay, we'll start. Give me 1 second, guys. All right. So my name's Kelsey Hatfield. I'm a staff attorney at Journeys End Refugee Services. We are actually housed within the American Civic Association. I just want to say thank you to Myra and Emmy for those wonderful presentations. I'm hoping I won't go over too much of the same material, but unfortunately being the last one, that's inevitable. So I may be going a little quickly through some of the slides. This is probably what we all know at this point. This is just the World Health Organization's definition of COVID-19. As we all know, it's an infectious disease, and it can have very serious health effects to those who maybe have pre-existing conditions or are vulnerable for another reason. This has really, as mentioned before, really impacted our immigrant community as a whole, especially undocumented individuals. A lot of undocumented individuals don't know their rights when it comes to healthcare, and are very afraid of, even if they are aware of their rights, they're very afraid to ask for them or to make sure that they are being heard, because kind of as Emmy was saying and Myra was saying, there is a huge fear around telling the government anything in undocumented people, just because, you know, there is an intense fear that it'll be shared with ICE. DHS will affect immigration proceedings in the future, affect current immigration proceedings. So hopefully the first part of my presentation will take us through the rights that all immigrants, documented or otherwise, have in the healthcare community. So like I just said, everyone has certain rights, and this includes HIPAA confidentiality and emergency healthcare treatment. I want to focus first on emergency healthcare treatment because that is something that a lot of people don't go and ask for. So for example, you know, if an undocumented person contracts COVID and they are experiencing serious health effects, a lot of the times they will not go to the emergency room or go to the doctor. And that is very dangerous, obviously. So that is a right that everyone has. So the point of that is that if you are sick, please go to the hospital. So when you're at the hospital, HIPAA protects you in a certain way. So HIPAA covers health plans, health insurance companies, healthcare providers, and companies that assist healthcare providers. So that means, you know, the people who work the computers at the hospital, IT people, people who deliver your foods, nurses, doctors, people in the labs, everyone in the hospital is covered. And the HIPAA Act doesn't allow them to share your medical information. So the things in your medical record, conversations they have with you regarding your medical history or treatment, and your billing information. DHS has already said that they're committed to making sure everyone who needs a vaccine can get one. So when you're going to the doctor to get the vaccine or going to the hospital to be treated, that is what's called a low priority immigration site for the Department of Homeland Security. In that way, that means that they are not focusing so much on being at the hospital. Under their policy directives, they are supposed to actively avoid those areas. So the hospital is actually one of the state or other healthcare communities, or like the ACA for a vaccine, for example. Those are very low enforcement areas, meaning that DHS should be avoiding them, not just not caring about them. They should actively be avoiding them unless they have to go there. And like Emmy said, and I believe Myra said too, the vaccine is free, even without insurance. All New Yorkers over the age of 16 are now eligible. I threw in the link here in case anyone hasn't registered yet. Currently, only the Moderna and Pfizer vaccines are available. And then this was actually something really cool that I discovered when I got my vaccine. New York State now has an application on your phone, and you can see mine over on the side there, where you have a pass showing that you have gotten your vaccine, and that could be useful for things in the future, or even proving your vaccination status now. Now I want to kind of shift over to the immigration elements of this COVID-19, because it really has affected the normal flow of immigration, both here, overseas, and in detention facilities. I want to focus first on overseas. So I know a lot of people in the presentation are probably familiar with the family reunification process. And that is the process in which permanent residents, refugees, asylees, citizens, obviously, it can bring their family members here from overseas. In March of 2020, the Department of State suspended all routine visa service in embassies and consulates worldwide. That meant that if you had a pending petition which required an interview, it was canceled. So we've seen some of the embassies and consulates reopening, but many haven't, especially in those countries with vulnerable populations, lower income countries, countries who haven't really been able to roll out the vaccine. We're actually seeing countries like India now, which are getting hit very severely, and the embassies are, the ones that were open are closing again. So that has really delayed in a huge way a lot of people's ability to bring their family members. We're also seeing that as these embassies open up again, they're not scheduling in the way that you would anticipate. So they're not just going back to the first canceled appointment and scheduling everyone in order. They're scheduling very sporadically. Unfortunately, we don't know why, but we are still struggling to really figure out how this is going to go moving forward. But it has really delayed a lot of people who, a lot of the time, the interview is the last step for your family member to come here. So it's really been tough on a lot of immigrants in the United States and their family members back home. I'm sure everyone has probably at least heard of the Remain in Mexico policy. So this policy is where the immigrants who are coming to the southern border were told to remain in Mexico, and they were given migrant protection protocol interviews as opposed to a credible fear interview. So the migrant protection protocol interviews were shorter. They weren't really aligning with what a typical credible fear interview entails or is legally required to entail. And a lot of people were really hurt in terrible, terrible ways by not being able to have their claims heard. On March 20th of last year, the US, Mexico, and Canada agreed to suspend non-essential border travel. What that meant was that there was a way to just keep individuals who might be wanting to claim asylum or other ways to come into the United States were basically told, you can't. And so that's when we started to see the migrant camps popping up in Mexico that were filled with people from all over Central and South America, as well as people from Mexico itself. This statistic is from last August. Over 20,000 people were stranded in Mexico. It's actually grown. And now we're seeing, at least from my experience, I'm seeing people who are being let into the country without clear parole or without a clear asylum interview or anything. And we're seeing, once again, very sporadic implementation of policy as far as who gets an interview, who's allowed in, who's still in Mexico. So COVID has really been more of a justification for this policy, I would say, than the major cause, but it has obviously traveled, the disease has traveled further and faster in these camps. So that has been something that we're seeing from immigrants coming in from the southern border. Biden has once again reinstated the MPP interviews, but like I said, they're very sporadic and there's a ton of backup down south. So when people are coming up to the border, it's not even guaranteed that they're going to get the interview they deserve. And if they do get the interview, it's seemingly random if you end up being paroled in, like I said, or being turned back. And then finally, United States citizenship and immigration processing. So United States citizenship and immigration processes your immigration benefits once you're here. So that's the ones we typically hear about: green cards, citizenship, certain family reunification if the family member is already here. United States citizenship halted all in-person interviews and biometric appointments for the first 3 months of the pandemic. Once again, though they've started up again and most United States citizenship and immigration offices are open again, but it's been super sporadic. It has not been a linear who got canceled first, we'll schedule them first. It's been very weird and we do not know why. That's been tough on a lot of people, especially people who are, looking for their green cards, because that is really a photo ID that people are required to have for many different things. It obviously is affected to people who are looking to naturalize and, like I said, other processes in the US, but it's been tough. The good thing that USCIS has done is expanded the time to respond to requests for evidence. It is expanded from when you receive the notice, you get an extra 60 days to respond to it. Besides that, they have not been incredibly understanding of COVID issues or deadlines or things like that. So what I've been telling my clients, which is really important now more than ever, is to keep updating their address if they move. Because like I said, the interview notices and biometric notices are coming sporadically, and we don't know when to expect things, even for a thing like an affirmative asylum interview. The timeline has really been messed up. So we don't know when these things are going to happen. So that's a very important thing, to update your address. Finally, detention. So I think kind of like Emmy was talking about, you know, being able to deliver resources like hand sanitizer, soap, masks is even more important in detention, because you're surrounded by a high density of people in a small area. That has been very hard for our clients in detention to come by. ICE has said that they slowed down arrest rates. They're focusing more on individuals who have criminal history or what they call high priority enforcement. They have said that. At some points it seemed to be true, at some points it hasn't. It's very hard to look into agencies like DHS or ICE or USCIS because it's very much a black box. So we have been seeing, on average in Batavia, average rates of detention. So those individuals in detention are very much in danger. There was talk about releasing as many who did not fit with the, as many people who did not fit in this public safety risk category, which I said like criminal history, maybe previous deportations, but they never did that. So there's not much to really do or follow up on with these individuals in detention. It's just a very scary situation for many people in detention. And that is what I have. So hopefully I didn't go too fast. Does anyone have any questions?
Somebody has a comment. Somebody said that the migrant protection protocol applies only to non-Mexican asylum seekers.
So yes, you're right. But they still weren't letting the Mexican asylum seekers into the US. So I see what you're saying, I do, but in practicality, it had the same effect on those individuals from Mexico trying to seek asylum. But yes, correct, like the MPP specifically wouldn't be applied to the Mexican seeker. Does that make sense? It's a little confusing.
I think it does. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? No?
No, there seem not to be any more questions.
All right. Great.
Thank you
Thanks
very
so much,
much.
guys.
Okay, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, Kelsey and Emmett. We need to do this one more time. There's going to be another time that we're going to be having this kind of panelists, because there are a lot of other organizations here in Broome County that are really, really looking to get to know more about immigrants, the migrants, refugees, and what is being done in our communities. Marisol, I must tell you that we have a lot of wonderful people in the southern tiers, all the way from Binghamton to Rochester to Buffalo, New York, and we are all working together, making sure that no one is left behind, that the vaccine is important, immigration issues, if anybody have any concern, we're all here to help and answer, to answer those questions. Again, the government, the slow on the cases is also an issue right now. But sooner or later, I know everything's going to fall into place very soon. It was a matter of, this whole thing about COVID-19 is a humanitarian issues that is affecting everyone. And I have not heard of one family or one community that said, I don't know what COVID-19 is or what it's doing out there, because it's around us all the time. And we must encourage each other. We must reach out to each other and say, hey, let's do it. We can do this. And And our goal again is to make sure that no one is left behind and that everybody get the information, get the vaccine, and move on with their life.
Absolutely.
Thanks so much. I also wanted to just say, I mean, we'll talk more, I'm sure, in the near future, but the American Civic Association it's the most comprehensive thing I've found in the whole Southern Tier for immigrants. So anyway, I'll ask you more, Ms. Garcia, but I'd like to try to find where else in the Southern Tier I could hook my team up with. So we'll talk about that in the future, but you guys are doing a great job. Thank you.
Thank you. And it's a good question that you are asking, and we don't mind sharing because that's what we are all about. The Catholic Charity in Ithaca, they do a lot of beautiful work when it comes to the immigrants and refugees and newcomers into our community. They have attorneys on site also, and I believe the Journey Sent go to also Ithaca, New York. So the presence is there also at the Catholic Charities in Ithaca. Is that true?
Yes, I have once a month I have consult days at the ACA, and then another day a month I have them at Catholic Charities Ithaca.
Okay, great.
So yeah, for any legal help, I can talk to anyone about anything, basically.
Okay, great. And I also didn't go into a lot of depth about contact tracing, case investigation, et cetera, because I think maybe people kind of are either burned out on it or know all they need to know, but I am available to talk to anyone in your client base about the whys and wherefores and how it happens if they want to know. Sometimes I think people are burned out about it, but it's really important to repeat that, you know, we only are doing this for stopping the spread. Oh, I did have one question for you, Kelsey.
Yeah.
There was a kind of interesting difference in HIPAA privacy and public health privacy. So that's something that's really important to know. I am not an attorney, so I don't know the exact, but it's not quite the same as HIPAA. Like
So
your
I'm coming from,
information
like, yeah.
shared with the public, but it needs to be shared with the public health because of the pandemic and slowing and stopping the spread. So it's slightly different level of privacy.
So I'm coming from the legal point of view too, and just an immigration point of view. So as far as the public health thing, I know for a fact, you know, when I've seen 100 times that DHS and ICE are very much almost like the census. There's a wall there, privacy wise. So even immigration status is unfortunately shared with some public health organizations for the sake of COVID. There's certain exceptions to law. So the law delineates certain reasons under which healthcare providers can share immigration status. HIPAA is more focused on sharing information with anyone. But I know there is that firewall, I guess you would say, exactly like the census, where they cannot be disclosing this info to anyone who could use it harmfully in the government against them.
Yeah. Great. Well, I didn't mean to go on too long.
Oh, no.
I have one question for Kelsey. In the event that somebody feel or that has been discriminated for one reason or another in getting the vaccine, do you know who can they contact? Where can they go for help?
Yeah. So that's, Myra, you always get me with the toughies. I know I've heard, not rumors, mumblings that there are people who are taking that up. But the way I think it's going to end up being more of like a class action situation where I would have to think, there's an organization, I know in Buffalo at least, and there's a statewide one that will file these class action discrimination suits. I have a friend who just required a discrimination suit for something else. And so I did reach out, and I do have a contact. If you know anyone, I can share that totally.
Yeah.
Could you please share it in in the chat room, just so people have it in case they need it?
Yeah, let me, I'm
If
gonna
you
have
don't
to
have
find it.
access
Can I
to it
email it?
now, yeah, if you don't have access to it now, if you could please email it to me, I will make sure that it is in the list of resources of our website.
Great, Marisol.
Okay, thank you so much for being here. Thank you everybody for attending. I am going to now share a link to a form. One of the things, if you look at our website and you scroll all the way to the bottom, now you're going to see a map that has flags, that has points showing the origins of all the people who have been in the festival. So I encourage you to please complete that form so that we can add you there. And if you put your email, then you're going to participate in a raffle of goodies related to the festival. We have some t-shirts, we have some tote bags, and we're going to be including some items from Binghamton University. So please click there and participate. And again, thank you so much for being here. It is wonderful to have you. We have learned a lot. This recording is going to be available as well in the website. So if you need to see it later, if you need to share it, it's going to be there. And to our presenters, I am so thankful for being able to collaborate with you, for building this bridge that I hope is going to last for many years to come. And well, let's do this again sometime.
Thank you.
Thank you guys
We'll do
so
it
much.
live
It's been
next
great.
time.